Hello. In this video, I'm going to try and explain in a simple way how losing body fat works, and how, regardless of your situation, you can lose body fat if you approach it the right way. Throughout this video, I will go over the process of fat storage, calories, tracking, and my advice for applying this knowledge to yourself in your life. The basic premise of all fat storage is that when a person is consuming a higher number of calories on average than they are burning throughout each day, their body will store the excess calories as body fat. Consuming more calories than you burn is called being in a caloric surplus. In order to lose body fat, you need to consume fewer calories on average than you burn. This means that your body will utilize your stored fat as an energy source, and this will lead to fat loss. Consuming fewer calories than you burn puts your body into what is called a caloric deficit. If a person is in a caloric surplus, they will gain fat, and if someone is in a caloric deficit, they will lose this fat. This is a fact, and no human on Earth violates this law, meaning that no matter what situation you are in viewing this video, fat loss is possible for you. I had given up on losing fat after years of trying to starve myself of food because I did not understand how fat worked. Once I did, I lost 20 kg within half a year, and since then I feel in control of my body fat level. To this point, much of this is common knowledge, and the understanding of how fat is lost or gained is not particularly useful without an understanding of how many calories you personally need to consume each day and how you can achieve this goal. The first step is understanding how many calories your body will burn by default each day. This is known as your basal metabolic rate, or BMR. Calories are burned in this way through life-sustaining processes such as digestion or breathing, as well as simple movements of the body. The BMR of a person is dependent on a number of variables, and so it is different from person to person. To find your BMR, you can use a calorie intake calculator, such as the one linked in the description of this video. Once you have identified your BMR, you should understand roughly the number of calories your body uses to maintain its level of body fat, and roughly how many calories you should eat to be in a caloric deficit and for you to lose body fat. On top of your BMR, you can and should take extra steps to burn more calories throughout the day, such as performing light cardio like walks. These activities greatly aid in the number of calories you burn each day and also serve to keep you healthy. It is worth noting that after extended time within a caloric deficit, the metabolism comes to match your BMR so that you no longer burn a normal rate of calories throughout the day. This leads to a plateau in weight loss. In order to break this plateau, you can have a week where you eat in a slight surplus or at maintenance. This will reset your metabolism, which will allow you to then return to your deficit and continue to lose fat. Now that you understand how many calories you need to aim to eat each day, you may be wondering, how do I know how many calories I am eating? In order to understand how many calories you are eating, I would personally recommend at least a temporary period of tracking your caloric intake. All food that you consume has a listed caloric value somewhere, and so to keep track of these calories, you can add up the value you find for each item of food you consume based upon the weight of the item you are consuming. You can find the nutritional information for most purchased food on the packaging in either kilojoules kJ or kilocalories kcal. If your packaging is in kilojoules, you can use the conversion of dividing the kilojoules value by 4.184. Kilocalories are what I'm referring to as calories throughout this video for the sake of simplicity. Many see this counting as obsessive, and to an extent it can be. For some people, counting every bite you eat becomes an obsession. This is very unhealthy and can lead to eating disorders. I recommend a short period of casually tracking calories so that a person can understand how many calories are in the foods they commonly eat. Once you gain an understanding of these foods, caloric content counting for many people becomes unnecessary. That being said, if you truly want to guarantee that you are losing fat, I would recommend counting calories to the best of your ability. One issue around counting calories is to do with the FDA's allowed 20% margin of error on the caloric values of food you eat. This may not apply outside of the United States, but for viewers who reside there, this is worth keeping in mind. Now that you understand the basic premises of losing fat, you may want some tips for actually abiding by the number of calories you want to consume. I will now discuss some of the things that assist me when losing fat that may be helpful to you. The first thing I would like to discuss are some foods with the perception of being healthy that could hinder your weight loss. These foods may be healthy for your body, but they are also high in calories and will make it significantly more difficult to remain in a caloric deficit. Some of these foods include peanut butter, nuts, bread, grains like muesli or cereals, dried fruit such as raisins, and excessive quantities of oil. If you love some of these foods, it is totally fine that you consume them. You should simply be aware of their high caloric content. There are also substitutes for some of these, such as peanut butter powder with the fat removed, that is significantly lower in calories and higher in protein. One of the most important things to understand about fat loss is that it doesn't matter what you eat. It matters how many calories are being consumed in what you eat. This means that theoretically, someone can lose weight eating exclusively chocolate. While it makes things easier to stick to low-calorie food, do not be afraid of certain foods. There is no obligation to quit eating the things you love to eat in order to lose fat. You simply have to balance your consumption of these foods. One of the other most important aspects to maintaining a caloric deficit is high protein consumption. Consuming protein is beneficial in aiding fat loss in a number of ways. First of all, protein actually gives what I call a calorie refund when you consume it. This is because it requires more work for the digestive system to break down, and therefore about 30% of the calories in protein are discounted by the work it takes to digest them. The official term for this phenomenon is the thermogenic effect, or the thermic effect of food. It also applies for carbs and fats, but not to significant enough of a degree that it matters a whole lot. Protein also serves as the most satiating of the macronutrients, meaning that it is better at filling you up than carbohydrates or fats. If you are familiar with the just one more effect, where you end up eating a large portion of a food because it tastes great and is not very satiating, you may like to think if you have ever had this feeling while eating chicken breast, for example. For me personally, I have never had the just one more effect occur while I was consuming chicken. This may be different for you, but nevertheless, protein remains exceptional in satiating hunger. The last thing I would like to touch on are some foods, or rather types of foods, I would recommend for maintaining a caloric deficit. Generally speaking, fruits and vegetables will be low in calories with a few exceptions. Vegetables are also nutritionally valuable and are highly satiating. I particularly recommend potatoes, which are considered to be the most highly satiating food on the planet, specifically when boiled. Vegetables are a great tool for feeling full on low calories, and contrary to popular perception, taste great when seasoned and prepared well. Apart from vegetables, another recommendation I have are popcorn kernels. These can be turned into popcorn in a pot or in a popcorn maker. Popcorn is high in fiber and can help as a quick snack. My last recommendation would be miso soup. Miso soup is cheap and is an easy low-calorie way to satisfy hunger. With all that said, I hope this helped some of you watching. If you have any further suggestions, questions, or feedback, please post them in the comment section, and good luck with your weight loss.